I was reminded of a presentation I gave in Tokyo many years ago. It's the only time I've ever spoken in a formal environment where there was a simultaneous translation. And beforehand, I had to give my remarks. And as you may know, I like to keep notes, but I also like to just talk. And so I had given my presentation to this Japanese woman who was doing the simultaneous translation. It was like the UN. She was in a glass box. It was a very large auditorium in one of the major universities in Tokyo. She was sitting up in the glass box. And I started the right way. I was at the podium, but I like to walk. So I started to walk away from the podium, not realizing that the mic was at the podium and I was over here. The audience could hear me fine, but she couldn't hear me because she was in a glass box. And so she's waving me back to the podium. I finally got the message. I came back to the podium. I finished my presentation from the podium. And at the end of my presentation, this young Japanese businessman came up to me and said, "Mr. Olson, that was the most interesting presentation I've ever heard." And I was feeling really good. I said, "What was interesting?" He said, "I never saw someone leave the podium." And all he remembered was that I had walked away from the podium. Anyway, so I promise our technical people in the back, I'll try to remember to come back up here. But I'm like herding cats. I don't do well in these things. Okay, we're now going to move to our first case study, which is a case study of the multifamily sector. We've had references to it early on. We're now going to get a detailed dive into the multifamily sector. Ed Carey from Carey and Partners is going to give the presentation, and Ed's presentation is also recorded because now in New York it's practically noontime. It's almost 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I don't know what Ed's doing, why he can't do this live, but he's going to do it in a presentation, recorded performance. I would say that the sector, as we've heard before, has been surprisingly resilient in the U.S. Part of that's been government stimulus and eviction moratoria. Part of it is just the demand for rental housing has been really strong. Ed runs one of Clarion's open-end funds, and Johannes is here someplace. There he is, raise his hand, from Clarion. Many of you know Johannes from Drooms. He joined Clarion. He's here. He can answer questions. But right now, we're going to have a presentation from Ed Carey of Carey and Partners on the multifamily sector.
Good day, everyone. This is Ed Carey, Managing Director for Carey and Partners, based in New York. I am here to speak with you all about the multifamily rental market in the United States and walk you through a recent development project our fund has recently completed and stabilized in Austin, Texas, one of the most vibrant job growth, migration, and real estate markets in the United States. Unfortunately, as I am virtual this morning, I will be unable to take any questions, but you can get in touch with me through my colleague, Johannes, who is attending the conference, for any follow-up questions you may have. And I certainly look forward to being together in person at the next USA conference. I won't bore you with lots of economic statistics, but on this slide, I identify some macro themes which we believe will drive multifamily rental performance in the United States. Firstly, and perhaps most important, better than expected vaccination rates in the US, which, combined with the percentage of the population which contracted COVID, may be leading to the possibility of herd immunity during this coming summer, which portends getting back to normal activities, like renting and moving apartments during the summertime busy season. The U.S. economic expansion is accelerating, and there is a jobs boom underway in the United States. Our research follows Moody's Analytics, with a 6 to 7% estimated GDP growth in 2021. But this is admittedly conservative compared to many estimates out there, which are more in the 7 to 9% range for GDP growth. The US government proposes to inject nearly $4 trillion of stimulus packages into the US economy, which should drive both savings and spending from consumer pent-up demand. The long-term demographic drivers of the combined 154 million millennial and Gen Z age cohorts will support multifamily rental growth for the foreseeable future. And finally, technology innovation and energy independence benefit continued U.S. economic prosperity. However, there are some clouds on the horizon, including new COVID variants may make the current vaccines obsolete and cause our